Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastahdihi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah wahdahu la sharika lahu. ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله الذي يرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى: كل نفس ذائقة الموت وإنما توفون أجوركم يوم القيامة فمن زحزح عن النار وأدخل الجنة فقد فاز وما الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع الغرور. My dear brothers and sisters, Allah Jalla Jalaluhu mentions in this ayat that every soul will taste death. And then Allah says, we will test you. وَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ fitna. With bad and good. It will be a test. And then you will be given, according to your test and your results, you will be given your deserts. Ujurakum. What Allah has for you reward. You will get the reward for whatever you do. فَمَنْ زُحْزِحَ عَنِ النَّارِ, the one who is saved from the fire and he is entered into the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then he and she will be successful. وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. The life of this world is for little benefit, which finishes. We were discussing Sayyidina Hussain radiallahu ta'ala anhu going to Kufa. But before we start with Sayyidina Hussain, we have to also discuss the background to why Sayyidina Hussain radiallahu anhu went to Kufa. After the martyrdom of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, the Muslims chose two leaders. One was Sayyidina Hassan bin Ali, who was the Khalifa, and Sham and Ahl Sham chose Sayyidina Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan radiallahu anhu as the Khalifa. Sayyidina Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he ruled for 6 months. Then, as Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had prophesied that this my son will not let blood flow of the Muslimin, he willingly and knowingly gave up Khilafah for the benefit of the entire Ummah. It wasn't that Sayyidina Hassan was not experienced enough. He was experienced. He had lived under the Khilafah of his father Sayyidina Ali. He had lived under the Khilafah of his uncle Sayyidina Uthman. And he had also lived under the Khilafah of Sayyidina Umar. Obviously, he was quite young when Sayyidina Umar was Khalifa, but when Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu became as Khalifa, he was approaching his early 20s. So he had experience of Khilafah, and he had seen the justice of Sayyidina Umar and the sabr of Sayyidina Uthman, and he had seen the bravery of his father Sayyidina Ali, and he had fought battles with his father. But after seeing the bloodshed of Muslims, he chose that he would give the Khilafah to Sayyidina Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, so that Islam and Muslims could benefit, and this great honor he bestowed upon Sayyidina Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu made Islam and the spread of Islam throughout the world. Islam spread to Sicily and to the Seychelles and Spain, and this was all achieved in the time of Sayyidina Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala. So Sayyidina Muawiyah, he ruled for 20 years. Then, as all, his time for rule came over. But Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu was no ordinary ruler. He was a very experienced, very shrewd, very generous ruler. In hadith it comes, Imam Ahmad rahmatullah alayhi has mentioned this hadith, that خرج معاوية على الناس فقاموا له, that Sayyidina Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu came out, so the people stood up in honor of him. So immediately he reprimanded them. He said, سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول من أن يتمثل له الرجال قياما فليتبوأ مقعده من النار. من أن يتمثل له الرجال قياما فليتبوأ مقعده من النار. That the person who desires that people should stand in his honor, he should make his abode in hellfire. He disliked that people would stand for him in his honor. He was very humble, but he was, as I mentioned, he was a very shrewd ruler. And one hadith he mentioned is مَن يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ, that who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala desires that from him khair should spread, Allah gives him the understanding of deen. And Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu is also one of the katibeen wahi, that when wahi used to come to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had the honor of one of those who used to write the Quran. He has many other fadila. So when he died, his son Yazid bin Muawiyah was declared as the Khalif. But Yazid sent a letter to Utbah ibn Abi Sufyan, Walid ibn Utbah ibn Abi Sufyan, who was the then governor of Medina. You see, there were certain places in the Islamic world, major cities, major centers, where the Amir held a very high position as a governor of that region. The governor of Makkah was Amr ibn Sa'id ibn al-As. The governor of Kufa was the Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Nu'man ibn Bashir radiyallahu anhu. The Amir of Basra was Abdullah ibn Ziyad. And the Amir of Medina was Walid ibn Utbah ibn Abi Sufyan. So he sent a letter to Walid ibn Utbah ibn Abi Sufyan. Sayyidina Muawiyah radiyallahu ta'ala who passed away in the year 60th Hijrah. Yazid was about 34 years old when he came onto Khilafah as the Amir. So in this letter he wrote to Walid that as soon as this letter reaches you, you must immediately call Hussein bin Ali, Abdullah ibn Zubair, Abdullah ibn Abbas, and Abdullah ibn Umar in your presence, and ask them to take the allegiance on my hand that I am their Khalif. And then you must ask the rest of the people. So when Walid ibn Utbah received this letter, he sent a message to Sayyidina Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala. At that time, Sayyidina Hussein and Abdullah ibn Zubair were together. So Hussein radiyallahu anhu said to Abdullah ibn Zubair, it seems like Muawiyah has passed on. That's why we are being summoned. So Hussein came to the presence of Walid ibn Utbah. And Walid ibn Utbah showed him the letter that he had received from Yazid about the demise of his father, Sayyidina Muawiyah radiyallahu ta'ala. When Sayyidina Hussein radiyallahu anhu went to meet Walid, Marwan ibn al-Hakam, who later on became the grandfather of the Umayyi Khulafas, Abdul Malik, and his sons Hisham and Walid, he was present. So he said to Walid ibn Utbah that demand from him that he should take bay'ah. And if he does not take bay'ah, he said about Sayyidina Hussein and Abdullah ibn Zubair, then immediately kill them. Walid ibn Utbah was not a harsh man, and he said to how can I have on my hands the blood of the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? I will offer him that he takes bay'ah on the hand of Yazid, but if he declines, I will not ask him, I will not be the one who will murder him. For the person who murders the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there is no khair for him in the hereafter. There is no good for him in the hereafter. So when Sayyidina Hussain radiallahu ta'ala anhu came, Sayyidina Hussain said to him that I will take my bay'ah when the people of Medina pledge their allegiance. I will not take bay'ah in private, which Walid accepted. When he walked out, Sayyidina Hussain radiallahu ta'ala anhu walked out, Marwan said to Walid, had I not told you, kill him. Sayyidina Hussain radiallahu ta'ala anhu heard this. So he said, you want to kill me, O Marwan? You are a liar and you are a grave sinner. And he turned and went home. So Marwan said to Walid, you will never see him alive again. Walid replied, I will not have my hands bloodied with the murder of Sayyidina Hussain radiallahu anhu, because the person who murders him, his mizan will be empty on the day of judgment. Sayyidina Hussain radiallahu ta'ala anhu had his family and his people. Immediately at night they left for Makkah. They reached Makkah. Abdullah ibn Zubair had already left for Makkah, and they both reached Makkah safely. The other two, Abdullah ibn Abbas and Abdullah ibn Umar, were already in Makkah they had gone for Umrah. They heard about the death of Sayyidina Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and they heard about that the allegiance was being taken for Yazid. Immediately they did not take allegiance. But when Abdullah ibn Zubair and Sayyidina Hussain reached Makkah, they were asked, they went to see, because Abdullah ibn Umar and Abdullah ibn Abbas were senior to them. So Abdullah ibn Umar said to Sayyidina Hussain, it is better to take allegiance than the blood of the Muslims be spilt. But Hussain was the son of Ali, and he would not take allegiance on the hand of a person who is not worthy of being Khalifa tul Muslimin, because there were many people alive at that time who were worthy of Khilafah. All four of them who were in Mecca at that time, Abdullah ibn Zubair, Abdullah ibn Umar, Abdullah ibn Abbas and Sayyidina Hussain, were more worthy than Yazid, as Yazid was born in the time of Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu. And these people were born in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sayyidina Hussain was about 5 or 6 years old when his grandfather Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed on. Abdullah ibn Umar had fought with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in certain battles, except for Badr. He was a young man. In Uhud and after Uhud, all the battles that took place, he was with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Abdullah ibn Abbas was young because he came to Medina after the conquest of Makkah, so after 8th Hijri, and he stayed in the companionship of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for at least 2 years after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's conquest of Makkah. Abdullah ibn Zubair was born, the first baby to be born in Medina after the Muhajirin immigrated the second year or the first year, and he was approximately 10, 11 years old when Rasulullah passed away. So all these were Sahaba, and Yazid was not a companion of Rasulullah. Yes, Yazid did meet the companions. He stayed in the company of the companions. He stayed with his father. He stayed with Amr ibn al-As radiyallahu anhu, Mughira ibn Shu'bah radiyallahu anhu, and others. But he had not stayed in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then Abu Bakr, and then Umar, and then at the time of Sayyidina Uthman, he must have been a mere child. So there were many other things that has to be taken, should be given to not only a person who is from a certain family, but in Islam, he is chosen for his piety, his knowledge, and his hilm, not just for the reason that he is the son of so and so. So Sayyidina Hussein and Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Zubair declined to take oath and bay'ah on the hands of Yazid bin Muawiyah. Now Sayyidina Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala, people sent him invitation from Kufa that he should come to Kufa and there were people, thousands of people in Kufa who were ready to take bay'ah on his auspicious hands. Sayyidina Hussein radiyallahu anhu, he did consult both Ibn Abbas and Ibn Umar. They both advised him that the people of Kufa are not to be trusted, for they had done the same to your father. They invited him and they had him murdered. So some people came in that year's Ramadan, approximately the 10th of Ramadan. A group of them came to Mecca and they met with Sayyidina Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and they asked him to accompany them to Kufa, and with them they brought hundreds of letters from many supporters. And many others sent letters through their proxies to Sayyidina Hussein. So Sayyidina Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala who sent his cousin Muslim ibn Aqil to see what was the situation in Kufa was, that were these people genuine, would they agree to him. So Muslim ibn Aqil went to Kufa and Iraq, and they promised Muslim ibn Aqil that as soon as Hussein comes, we will take allegiance upon the hands of Hussein. All the while, the spies of Yazid from within the Kufiyin were sending messages to Yazid regarding what was happening in Kufa. Yazid sent Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad to deal with this. And when Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad reached Kufa, he came with very few people, but all the people of Kufa, they betrayed the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All those people who had written letters to him, they now betrayed him, and they gave up Muslim ibn Aqil, who Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad killed. Muslim ibn Aqil death reached Sayyidina Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu when he was near into Iraq. If his death had reached him before his leaving Mecca and coming to Kufa, maybe he would have postponed it. But ma qaddar Allah ma sha, whatever Allah has written, it happens. So if Allah had written for Sayyidina Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu that he will be shaheed in Kufa, then nothing, no matter what, could stop him from reaching Kufa. He actually didn't reach Kufa. He reached outside the outskirts, and they didn't allow him to enter into Kufa. So my dear friends and brothers and sisters, Sayyidina Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when he reached Kufa and Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad was ready with his soldiers and with his army, the Hussein sent a message to Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad that let me leave and I will go to Sham and I will take bay'ah on Yazid's hand, or I will discuss with him. But Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad had no intention of allowing Hussein radiallahu anhu to leave. He insisted that Hussein radiallahu anhu, the son of Ali, the son of Fatima bint Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, must take allegiance on the hand of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, who, according to status, was nowhere equal to Sayyidina Hussein ibn Ali. If Yazid was not equal, how can Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad be equal? Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad started asking for certain conditions which the son of Zulfiqar, Hussein bin Ali, would not agree to. Inshallah, my dear brothers and sisters, we will conclude with this tomorrow of how Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad killed, martyred Sayyidina Hussein and the Ahl Bayt of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability and tawfiq to understand. Please make dua I just lost a cousin sister an hour ago. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevate her in Jannah, forgive her sins, and give sabr to the family. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.